Well, good morning and welcome. Thank you for taking the time to gather, even as we stay separate. Thank you for taking the time to think about your faith and about the scriptures and about who God is and who we are meant to be. I'm going to admit to you right off the top that this is a difficult one for me. It's uncomfortable. And it's uncomfortable because I am very aware right now of my whiteness and of my privilege, of the very fact of my skin color means that I've had opportunities that aren't given to everybody. And that speaking about race and relationship is difficult when you know you're someone who has the upper hand. And I fear, I'll just admit to you my fear of saying the wrong thing, of saying something that will offend somebody or upset somebody. We're all pretty raw right now, and I just don't want to make things worse. So I admit to you this is a difficult one. It's a difficult one because of all that we've seen this week. We've seen protests and reactions. We've seen the worst, but we've also seen the best of humanity. We've seen violence, but we've also seen huge, massive, incredibly peaceful demonstrations. We've seen crowds taking a knee. We've seen crowds observing 8 minutes and 48 seconds of silence. We've seen people of all ages and cultures and races and religions engaging in this moment all over our world, in big cities and in small towns. I picked up on the news last night that there was a Black Lives Matter demonstration in Picton. If you don't know where Picton is, you got to go about 2 hours east of Toronto to Belleville and then take Highway 62 south, and you'll find yourself in the glorious Prince Edward County, place where I spend some of my time in the summer. And you'll find yourself eventually, keep following the highway, you'll get to Picton. And Picton is just this beautiful, quaint little town. And the fact that even there, even in a small town like that, people are rising up and saying it's not okay. That's really powerful, really amazing. So this is what we're going to talk about today. This is what we're going to try and deal with, partially because it's on all of our minds, but also because I think it is so very important for us to form a Christian response to all of this and to state clearly and unequivocally that there is no place in our faith for racism. There is no place in our faith for racism. There is no place in our faith for racism. Period. I hope you watched the video of Kathy reading Psalm 8, our scripture reading. In her introduction, which was absolutely lovely, she spoke about the fact that this is a hymn of praise, a hymn of creation praise that sets God as the good creator. And one of the things that is inherent in that, and maybe not entirely obvious to us, is that if God is a good creator, then what he creates is also good. One of the other readings for this Sunday is the creation story, and we know that every time God makes something in creation, he then stands back and says, it is good. In Psalm 8, we find these verses 4 and 5, speaking to God. What is mankind that you are mindful of them? Human beings that you care for them. You have made them a little lower than the angels and crowned them with glory and honor. It's interesting. A little lower than the angels. In the Hebrew, I looked up that word angels because I was like, I'm pretty sure I read a different description or a different translation of this. And so I looked it up, and the Hebrew word there is Elohim. It is a name of God. It is the name of God used in creation. It is a plural name of God. The "im" ending is like having an S on the end of an English word. And it makes the case that the Trinity was present, that more than one reality of the one God was present at creation. And this is the only time in the Bible, thank you Strong's Concordance, that it's translated as angels. So that makes me a little suspicious of that kind of translation. I think what the psalmist was saying is, you've made us just a little bit lower than you, Lord, which is even better than the angels. And I think that it's translated into angels because there's this theology of not wanting to think too highly of ourselves. And that's important. That's very important, especially in view of the horrors that white colonialism has wrought on our world. To use a Canadian example, we could talk about residential schools and how white colonialists thought we were the white saviors of the poor natives. Those threads are still in our society. They are still causing hurt and pain, marginalization, poverty, addiction, and all kinds of things in the midst of our days, even in 2020. Those threads are still in our society, just as the threads of slavery are still in American society. So it's dangerous. It is dangerous to think too highly of ourselves. Verse 6 talks about having dominion over creation. And for far too many centuries, we have thought of it as domination. And you're seeing this week how quickly domination mindset can lead to a world of hurt. That's the wrong idea of dominion. I believe that somehow we've distorted rule over, which is the meaning of dominion, to take advantage of. And we know better. We know better. We know what makes a good ruler, and we know what makes a bad ruler. I don't care if you're talking prime minister or president or king or mayor or whatever. We know that the best rulers are compassionate, want what is best for their people, care about the plight of their people, and work for a better world for everyone. That's not a domination kind of mindset. It reminds us that with great power comes great responsibility. Somehow, over the years, we have missed the responsibility piece of dominion. When I was a kid, I lived in a small town called New Liskeard. And in New Liskeard on Saturdays, there would be the local theater would put on cartoons and kid-friendly programming. And my parents, to get a bit of a break, would put my hand in my older brother's hand, and give us money for tickets and money for a few penny candies, and send us off to the movies. It was a small town in northern Ontario, and it was safe to do that. And when we left, my dad would say to us, "Take care of each other." He still says that when we leave after visiting mom and dad. Dad will say, "Take care of each other." In fact, one of the things that's been amazing during the pandemic is Dr. Davila in Toronto, our officer of public health for Toronto, often ends her reports with, "Be kind and take care of each other." And I hear my father's voice in that. God created us to take care of his good world. He created a good world, and we are to take care of it. And the reason we are heartbroken by George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery is that these incidents show us how far off we have fallen of taking care of each other. George Floyd was made in the image of God. Breonna Taylor was made in the image of God. Ahmaud Arbery was made in the image of God. I am made in the image of God. You are made in the image of God. And that means whatever we have done, however we might have sullied that image, we have inherent and intrinsic value, each and every one of us. Today is Trinity Sunday. And the Trinity is best described as this perfect, unbroken circle of love and care, that each person of the Trinity is pouring out love and care on the other two persons. So we've got Jesus, and he's just pouring out love on the Spirit and on the Father. And you've got the Spirit who is just pouring out love on Jesus and the Father. And you've got the Father who is just pouring out love on Jesus and the Spirit. And it never stops, and they don't take a break. And they just continue to be this unbroken circle of love and care. And that means that none of them have to worry about themselves because they know the other two have their back. They're already taken care of. It's all good. It's fine because they are this perfect community of unbroken love and care. And they don't have to think me because they are always thinking we. Always thinking we. And that is the image of God that you and I are made in. That is the image of God that George Floyd was made in. That was the image of God that Breonna Taylor was made in, and that Ahmaud Arbery was made in, and that every single person is made in. We are made to love. We are made to take care. We are made to think we, not me. And we have to get better at it, because clearly we've been thinking me a little too much, a little too often. And how do we do that in the midst of all that has been happening this week? How do we, in tough times, it's normal to sort of come inward a bit to protect yourself, to care for yourself. And I'm not saying don't do that, but I'm saying don't do that as if you are not part of the whole world. Don't do that as if you are not part of the whole community. Don't do that as if you are the only one you have to worry about. We all have to take care of each other. We all have to love each other. We all have to recognize that one person's injury is everybody's injury. One person's death affects everybody. So how do we do that? What do we do in the midst of this awakening moment that the world seems to be having around race, around anti-Black racism, around the ways and the systems that we have in place that are meant to keep certain races and cultures trapped down? What do we do? What do we do if we're white? What do we do if we are people of color? What do we do? Well, I think a big part of it for me that right now is listening and getting informed. There are books and documentaries and opportunities for online courses, and right below this video I've posted a link to Nadia Bowles-Weber's website and to some of the things that she has listed as good resources for people to go to become informed. And I encourage you to do that. I actually signed up for the course that is part of that letter that she wrote, because I too want to be better informed. I want to know how to do better, because we need to do better. I encourage you to take action, to vote or to volunteer, to support, to pray, to do what you are able to do. I worry about the people out in those demonstrations because the pandemic is still very real, and it's very hard to maintain that social distance, and those gatherings of thousands of people, they worry my heart. And I understand if you're not somebody who can go and take part in that. I understand if you are somebody who is moved to do that, and I think those things are important and impressive. It's so impressive to me that people are out there risking their lives to make their voices heard, and that they're doing it mostly in peaceful ways. That it is, as the weeks have gone on, we have seen that it is mostly a small crowd of instigators who've been trying to make things violent or difficult. So take action. Take action however you can. Read a book. Watch a podcast. Listen to a podcast. Watch a documentary. That's what I was trying to say. Support social action in your neighborhood, in your way. I think a big part of this is taking immediate action around us in the ways that we can. And remember, always be guided by, cling to the fact that just as you are a child of God, so is every person you meet, even the person you like the least. They have intrinsic and inherent value because they are a creation of the good Creator who made each of us. We have to respect life. We have to respect freedom. We have to respect opportunities for everyone. We have to, friends, we have to start thinking we for these hard times. God bless you, and amen.